everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today on this day, I have with me a gentleman by the name of Jarel Bobby Brown. He is a board-certified assistant behavior analyst, a stage play producer, a fellow podcaster, and I'm looking so forward to hearing more about the wonderful work that he is doing in this world. But first and foremost, as I always do, Mr. Brown, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I appreciate you carving out the space to sit down and talk with me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you even taking the time to reach out to ask me to be a guest. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Now, first and foremost, I want to ask you, because I mentioned that you are in the mental health industry. And a lot of times I think people just due to lack of knowledge, they assume that professionals in the mental health industry are either psychiatrists or psychologists. So could you please explain to people exactly the work that you do? What is it that you do?
So as a assistant behavior analyst, it's more so like behavioral health. So I work with individuals with autism and other diagnoses. And so as a behavior analyst, we do applied behavior analysis. So it's like teaching these individuals with autism, like functional skills, whether it be communication, personal skills, just how to be, basically to help them to be more productive in society, as independent as possible. So like with the mental health side of that, ABA, applied behavior analysis, is like a sister to psychology. So a lot of the principles that we use is based on psychology. And what I decided to do was take what I learned in ABA and apply it to like life coaching and doing more of the mental health side of it in that way. Because a lot of the principles are things that we do in our everyday lives, but there's a lot of people that just really don't know how to apply it effectively to their life. And so like I've always been, like I've dealt with my own struggles when it comes to mental health. And so I was like, now that I have this education and this skill set, how can I help other people with the things that I've learned? And it's still, while helping other people, I'm still learning to apply it to my life. Like I have the knowledge, but now I'm applying it to myself. And I think that's something we all struggle with. Like we know, but we struggle with doing it. So yeah.
We never arrive. It's a constant process. We're always growing. We're always learning. So I think I picked in there that you've started your own company, Life Coaching.
Yes, behavioral coaching solutions. Yes, so this is life coaching, and it's just applying ABA principles. So it's like learning how to reinforce behaviors that we want to see and not reinforcing behaviors we don't want to see, how to shape up those behaviors. Because a lot of times, what I've noticed, and even with myself at times in the past, what I would do is I would look at the mountain and I would say, I'm going to go to the top of the mountain. But there's 1,000 steps between now and the top of the mountain. I need to look down and say, okay, right now, what I can't do 1,000 steps today, but today I can only do 5 steps. Let me do those 5 steps. And so that's what like shaping and things like that are when it comes to the ABA side of it. So a lot of it is just being able to kind of reconfigure our minds to look at things from a different perspective.
Awesome. Now, one of the things that I like to ask, because many times I think we overlook it with people that work in these fields, mental health and life coaching and stuff like that. How does the work that you do affect your own mental health?
I've learned, because right now I'm 36. And so I was in the military. I went to the military I was 20 when I went to the military. And back then I had this mindset of, I know everything. Like I'm good. I know you told me your age. I don't know if you told me get your
everybody knows. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
So like by the time I'm at 52, 53 years old, everything that I thought I knew right now at 36, my mindset would change. But I had to learn. It was about 28 years old where I got out of the mindset of I know everything. And it was like, okay, I don't know everything. I know a little bit here and there, but there's so much more that I need to learn. And so when it comes to how I approach my mental health, I remember I was probably maybe 21, 22. And when I would go through something, I was like, I've been through this. I've dealt with it. I've overcame, and I'm a survivor of this. And I shouldn't have to deal with it again. Couple of months, a year down the line, something would happen, and I'm back in the same situation. I'm like, God, what's going on? I've been through this. Why am I going through it again? But I learned that we deal with things, we go through certain things, and God equips us with the tools that we need to handle it. because it's going to arise again. It may be different situation, different people, different
Mm-hmm.
company, whatever, but we're going to go through some of the same situations again. But it's up to us to remember the tools that God gave us the last time and the time before that, so that we can apply it to the situation that we're currently in that moment. And so that's how I go through life right now. Whenever I'm dealing with certain things, I just remember that this moment will pass, and I'm looking to see what it is I'm supposed to gain from this situation and going forward. And like analogy that I've been using, a metaphor, one of them, is like, if it's raining outside, we learn that we need an umbrella. So, okay, we go out, we grab our umbrella, and we say, okay, next time it rains, I'm going to grab my umbrella. But the next time it rains, it may flood. So that time you learn, you know what? I need some boots. So I got my umbrella and I got my boots. So the next time it comes, it raining, it flooding a little bit, I'm good to go. But then the time after that, it may be a bigger flood. It may be hailing. So I need a boat this time. I need a stronger umbrella. So it's like each time it's like I'm equipped with what I need so that it doesn't overwhelm me. But I can still sustain and learn what I need for the next time. And that's where I am with my mental health. So a lot of it is learning to just kind of walk away from the situation once it's done and say, you know what, let me turn this off until I have to do it again. So when I do my coaching sessions, a lot of times I'll always have like I got my candles by, like right on my desk. I got like the stress relief lotion. I put on my meditation music in the background to kind of set the mood, because I had to learn that who I am as Coach Bobby or as a behavior analyst, that's not who I am as Bobby or as Jarel. Though I have to be able to separate those things.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. You know, and I think that's one thing that we don't understand is we're learning these lessons all the time, but you have to apply these lessons that we're learning. And I think that's where the disconnect happens. But a lot of times when we struggle in life, it's like we learned that 5 years ago, but then we just don't apply it. Listening to you and your growth and your learning process, the goal is to be able to impact people so they don't have to make the mistakes that we made. And my question to you is, because you are doing the work that you're doing, and both of us are Black folks, you know, last I checked, and the mental health issue is still a stigma in our community.
Yes.
How do you suggest parents create this safe space when they're doing the parent-child interaction or the caregiver-child interaction, because you do work with you, so they can feel comfortable talking, so they don't have to kind of bump their heads like you and I have done over the years, because mental health is just a taboo subject for us still. We're still struggling with it.
I think, honestly, before the parent can have, or the caregiver can have that conversation with their child, they need to be in a safe space themselves. And so a lot of times we have, you know, adults are going through life and they feel that they can't talk to anybody. So they may not be intentionally teaching this to their kids, but the kid is watching them. The kid is seeing them hold things back. As a child, I remember hearing my mom in the bedroom crying, but she would never cry in front of me, or she would never tell me as a child. So I learned that I can't cry in front of people. I learned that I need to hold that in on the inside. So I think in order for the society to continue to raise productive young individuals or young adults in society, the parent themselves need to take a step back and say, okay, what do I need to work on? And I think a lot of times there are people that are, you know, in their 30s and their 40s that are very set in their ways. And they're like, this is how I've always done it, so why do I need to change? It's worked for me, but it's like, is it really working for you? You're unhappy, you're stressed out, high blood pressure, cholesterol up. It's like, is that really working for you? But that's their normal. And they think that when you're in a certain place, if you've lived in society or in a region of the world where it rains all the time, all you know is rain. And you think that that's okay. And in order for the individuals or the parents and the caregivers to be able to provide what they need to provide for their kids, they have to be willing to take that step back and work on themselves. And so what I've been trying to do is be more open, be more vocal about my struggles, the things that I've been through with doing the podcast, doing I did the stage play and different things where it's like, let's talk about the reality of what's going on. And that, I feel like that's what's needed in those situations. And once they're able to do that, then they can be effective with how they approach their kids and what they're trying to provide to their kids.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we don't really understand within the Black community is that we need a lot of therapy, but we don't want to admit it. You know, I always like to tell people, like, they just said, hey, you're free, but didn't give us any counseling on the 400 years of, you know, how to unpack all that stuff we went through. And we're just continuing to pass it down generation to generation. So the hope is that you young folks that are coming along are kind of doing the work and kind of making things better. And we're going to make some shifts in the narratives that we're experiencing over and over, generation after generation. So, you know, hopefully that's what we're going to see in the next generations. Now, I want to segue because I want to pick your brain about something.
Okay.
I was watching Dateline last week, and there was an episode about the murder of this young brother, Anton Black, by a Maryland police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in the middle of having a mental health episode.
Mm-hmm.
So the police were called and they were told that he was having a mental health episode upon arrival. The situation escalated and the officers ended up handcuffing him. They restrained his legs, and he was a really slender young Black guy. I think he was like 17, 18 years old. 4 officers laid on top of him. And because he was having a mental health episode, he went into cardiac arrest and he died.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, because we're kind of in this space right now with what do we do? When we have these mental health calls, is it best to have somebody like you or a mentally trained person answer these calls, or do we get law enforcement on board? Like, what's the best way to deal with this? Because more and more of these calls to law enforcement are mental health calls, and they're not really trained and they're not handling them correctly. So, I mean, I just wondering, what do you think what kind of ways can we start to handle this better?
The main word you just said is train. They're not trained. So it's like there needs to be more training on how they're handling these calls. And until that happens, nothing will change, because we have, again, it goes back to these people that are raised in a certain home, raised in a certain society, where it's like, oh, mental health is an issue, or they're just faking, or they're just crazy and they just need attention. And so these cops, a lot of them that have no training, they were at some point in their life probably raised that mental health is not something that you need to really worry about. Just handle things, you know, business as normal. And so until they're able to receive that type of training on how to respond appropriately, then we're going to continue to see these issues. So a lot of it is like, I think that, you know, a bias, some of it might be an unconscious bias. First, you got a Black man. So it's like, oh, now he's acting up, and oh, he acting a fool and stuff like that. But that's just what they were programmed to believe. And so some people are not independent thinkers, where when they're taught something, it's only a black and white of, this is what I was taught, this is how I respond, this is what my job is. But in those situations, you need to be able to understand what's happening in the gray area. And I feel like if they were to able to have like a mental health professional or a behavioral health professional to be able to respond on those type of calls, that would definitely help to alleviate the amount of deaths that we are seeing. But that's something, I guess, like the cities and the states and the government themselves need to be willing to make those changes so that we can see a reduction in these type of deaths.
Okay, good point. Because I think that's like a place we're at now, where we're just having more and more of these law enforcement or police calls, 911 calls, and they're actually mental health calls.
Yeah.
And these officers are really not trained for it at all. And we're seeing all of these devastations happen, you know, and more trauma being put upon a person who's already suffering with mental health, even if, you know, so I just think we need some adjustments made in that area. I want to circle back, and forgive me because I'm just all over the place. But in the opening, you mentioned that you work with people with autism, and there's a lot of stigma with that. And people don't realize that they can actually have functioning lives. What actually are the facets of autism? Because a lot of people just don't understand.
So a lot of times with autism, like we'll see like a delay in communication, independent type skills, interacting with others. So like those are like the core component of autism. So when we have somebody that is higher functioning, that can get up and go to work and live a productive life, they still may not be the best communicator. They still may not have those personal relationships in their lives. They're just doing pretty much a routine of that. This is what I was taught to do, and this is my structured schedule. And so, like, we have some people that are very, high on the spectrum, but when you talk to them, they may not look you in the eye, or there are certain social cues that they may not pick up on. So a lot of times, like, there are, and it's sad because I think in the Black community, there may be a lot of undiagnosed people with either autism or even other mental disabilities. And so when you have these type of calls, like with the police officers, sometimes you may be dealing with somebody that may be undiagnosed, that may have these issues that we don't know about. And if you don't know how to respond or how to take that step back and assess the situation, then you find yourself in those type of struggles. But a lot of times when we see, kids in the Black community, I would say, I've seen some people that, look at a kid and they use the R word and they're like, oh, he's just that. And instead of saying, maybe we need to check to see what we can do to help him. So like with applied behavior analysis, a lot of the tools that we use to help these individuals, it's preparing them at a younger age so that they can build those social cues and that build that independence up for when they are older. And it's not saying that a lot of them are necessarily going to go out and live independent lives, but they can be more independent in their life where the parents aren't having to do everything for them. So I think it's important, in our communities, that we have a lot of people that when we look at mental illness, we look at mental disabilities and things like that, where it's like, we just kind of brush it to the side and we don't want to talk about it. It's too taboo and stuff like that.
Yes, indeed. Generations ago, we used to have Uncle Ray Ray was in the back room, and that's just where he was, and we just knew he was, that was just it. But now we have more information, we have more knowledge, and hopefully we're going to do better. Listening to you talk, the work that you do is mentally, emotionally taxing. What led you down this pathway?
So it's okay. I moved to Houston in 2005. It was like shortly after Hurricane Katrina. I was from Louisiana. And so when I moved to Houston, I was here for a year. And within that year, it was like a lot of ups and downs. I think I was 19 when I moved to Houston. And I just wanted to be on my own, trying to live my best life. And my best life was struggling, trying to put $5 gas.
You was feeling yourself.
I had like $4 and some change to put gas in my car. And the gas is like, I don't know how I'm gonna make it home. But at that time, I had a cousin of mine. She was working at this company. It was it's like a residential facility with adults with disabilities. And so I started working there, and it was, I'm a Cancer. So I don't know if you have a lot of, you're a Cancer too?
July 8th.
Are you an emotional? I'm June 28th. So are you like an emotional Cancer? And,
no.
Oh, see, like, we different then. We different. So I'm the emotional Cancer. I'm like, and it's different. It's like if somebody meets me, they may not think I'm an emotional person, but underneath the core, I'm like this soft teddy bear. And so I was working at this residential facility, and I've seen a lot of these people that were in their like 30s, like late 30s, 40s, 50s, that couldn't bathe themselves, couldn't feed themselves, that, walking around dirty clothes, not knowing how to use the bathroom. And I was like, there has to be something that can be done to help these individuals at a younger age, so that when they are older, if they are living in a residential facility, at least they can take care of themselves a little bit more. Because unfortunately, you have staff that are hired to work in these places. A lot of them, like even me at the time, I just needed a job. So if I was just the type of person to be fine with having a job and going home and not worrying about anything, then I would have been okay just letting them walk around dirty. Because there would be days where I would be off for 3 days, and I would go back and I would see some residents in the same clothes that they had on 3 days ago when I left. And I was like, this isn't right. And so even then, I was in school at the time for something different, and I had one of my classmates, and I told her, I was like, I got this guy, he's older, he don't have a lot of clothes, and one of my classmates was like, well, my husband lost a lot of weight. We have like 2 bags of clothes. You can have them if you want them. I was like, great, thank you. And so when I left this company, I ended up going to the Army, and then once I got out the Army, I had a cousin, the same cousin at that company. she went to a different company doing ABA with kids with autism. So she was like, you should try it out, give it a chance. She was like, I really think you would like it. So that was in 2012. And I started doing ABA back then. I was like, let me give it a chance, see what it's like. And here I am 10 years later, still doing it. When I started in ABA, I didn't have a degree. I finished my associates. I went to school to get my bachelor's to become a board certified assistant behavior analyst. After I got done with my bachelor's, I went to school to get my master's to be a board certified behavior analyst. So right now I'm just waiting to take my next certification course to be a board certified.
So
So
awesome.
It's like, it was just like I have this soft spot in my heart for kids and or just individuals, anybody. But it's like something about the work that I do just draws me in. And one of the things I always tell people is like, I feel my personal thing is I have a calling and I have a passion. My passion is what I do for myself, what brings me joy, what makes me happy in my life. My calling is what God put me on the earth to do for other people. And so my calling is doing ABA. My passion is doing my acting, my writing, and all of that, and the life coaching. And some lanes of that merges together with the life coaching because I'm able to help other people. I'm able to do what I learned doing ABA and continuing to, give back in that way.
I love it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, let me talk about some of the other work that you're doing because I'm running out of time here, but I want to make sure everybody knows how amazing you are. There are some stereotypes about Black folks that we are lazy, but you definitely don't fit that one. You are a busy man. If I got it right, and please feel free to correct me. You have 2 podcast shows, or is there more? Or
so it's I have like just a podcast. So I do one is just like the audio podcast that I do on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and then I have like a discussion video show that I do, which is just on YouTube.
Okay. So what's the themes of those?
So the video discussion show is No Filter. It is myself and I have a co-host on there named Morphia. So on that one, we just kind of have like open and honest conversations about like just what's going on in society and just our personal opinion of it, just being no filter. So it's the same concept with the podcast, but with the podcast is A Little Too Honest, which is on Apple and Spotify. So with that one, I have different guests on. And like most of the time I have the guests on and I let the guests pick whatever topic they want to share about and just have an open and honest conversation about those things. So it's like both of them are just open, honest platforms to just be able to share and talk about different things. Because I feel the reason why I wanted to do these is because I like to talk for one, but I feel we don't have a lot of safe spaces where we can share our opinion. And right now in society, on social media and stuff like that, you can say, I like apples. And somebody gonna comment, oh no, you're wrong. Apples are bad for society. You shouldn't eat apples. You're gonna die if you eat apples. Like it's just that's what I like.
I like apples.
So it's like being able to have that space where people could just come, like, well, for the discussion is me and Morphia, just our opinion. And then A Little Too Honest podcast is just anybody coming on and talking about different things and just being open and honest about it.
Being open and honest. Yeah, it's getting very tricky these days to have opinions and feelings about everything, because it seems like, everybody has to be uniform, and that's not the beauty of being the human nature, species, whatever, diversity and all of that stuff is the beauty of us. But if you have a different opinion, boy, they coming for you. They coming for you. They coming for you.
Absolutely.
Be like, I can't even like my blue shirt. Like, why you like your blue?
It's sad. It's really
oh my
sad.
gosh, you just tiptoeing around like, I don't know, maybe should I say that? Okay, well, anyways, anywho, Mr. Bobby Brown, it's my prerogative. Listening to everything you're doing, we've got the podcast and we've got the mental health. My next question is, and you kind of touched on it, how does the mental health man get into stage plays? How did you get involved in that?
So that's my passion. Like, that's something I've always wanted to do. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to act. I wanted to be on stage and entertain people. And I'm from Raceland, Louisiana, which is a little small country town. and there weren't a lot of opportunities for me to do acting and stuff as a kid. And so I remember I did like church plays and stuff like that. That was it. And I did a few plays, I think like 2 plays in high school. So as a kid, I was like, this is not a realistic goal. This is not something that will actually come to fruition. Like I need to do something else. So like I tried to find other things to make me happy and tried to forget about that dream. But it was always something in the back of my mind. I want to do this. So when I got out of in the military, I started doing like little skits and stuff on YouTube and things when YouTube first came around. But when I got out of the military, I was like, I want to act. I want to do something. So what I did was I created a web series. I did a 6-episode web series called The Life We Live, which is on YouTube. It's just about four best friends living their lives. It's about a gay character, a straight character, a lesbian character, and a bisexual character. And all of these 4 friends just living their life, going through their own struggles and how it affects them as individuals, but how it also affects the friendship. Because a lot of times when we're dealing with things and we have friends, we always want our friends to show up for us, and we're not always willing to see, oh, they got their own thing going on. Gotcha. So I did that because I wanted to act. I wrote it, direct, produced, edited, filmed, learned, taught myself how to do all those things. And so from there, I met one lady, Miss Deborah Atkins, who was doing a stage play at the time, and I auditioned for her show and got cast in her show. And I remember the opening night, because we did, I think, 3 shows. The first night, I remember stepping on stage, and I was like, "This is where I'm supposed to be, like awesome. right here in this moment." And it was like from then on, I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. So I've, been doing stage plays here in Houston. And in 2014, I wrote my first stage play that I produced. And I wrote it in 2014, and I did the cast, had everything ready to go. And I was like, I can't do it. That inner fear was like, I can't do it. I'm not ready. Like people won't watch it. People won't come out and see it. So I don't know what to do. So it wasn't until 2018, God just kept saying, you got to do this show. You have to do this show. And so I was like, let me reach out to some people and see like some of the original cast if they could still do it. And I had to find some other people to come in. And so in 2019, April 14th, I did my stage play, The Soldier's Wife, which is available on YouTube. And it's about a story of this soldier who's just getting out of the military. And another thing I want to say, everything that I do is going to touch on mental health, whether it's like stage play. So like, this is my passion, but my calling is still to help people. So it's going to touch on the mental health. So the web series, the stage play is The Soldier's Wife, and it's about this soldier who got out of the military, and after getting out of the military, he's dealing with a lot of PTSD that he doesn't know how to handle it. So like, it's about how the military, once you're done, they be like, okay, thank you, here's your papers, go on about your life, and you don't know how to adjust to society as a civilian after being in the military 12 years or 10 years, however long. And so in this one, it's about how it affects his wife and his family, but in his mind, he thinks he's protecting them by not talking about it, by not sharing some of the things that he's been through. And one of the best compliments that wasn't like necessarily a compliment, I would say, but I take it as a compliment. One of my sister's friends, because her husband was in the military, and she was a military wife for years. So this guy that she knows, she had invited to the show, came. He said that after he watched the show, he went, because he was in the military. After watching the show, he had to go home and apologize to his wife.
Awesome.
That was the first time that it was almost like he was in the audience watching his life play out on stage.
He could see himself. Yeah.
That's exactly what I want people to be able to look themselves in the mirror from the work that I'm doing and say, okay, maybe I need to take a step back and do something for myself. But yeah, that's how it was, just wanting to do something and not having necessarily the access and the open doors and the resources to do things, and deciding, you know what, I'm just going to do it for myself. I'm going to build my own table. Starting off, it may be a little bit wobbly. I got to sit on some buckets because I ain't got no chairs, but this is my table, and this is what I'm doing to feel my passion, but also that calling of helping and giving back to other people.
I love it. I love it. So is it a production that's going to be planned? You're going to plan to do it again? We got to rent theater space and all that stuff? Or?
So I'm working on some different scripts. Like I was going to do that same show again in 2019, but a lot of stuff happened, and then so I was like, okay, 2020 come, I'm doing it. But of course, everybody knows what happened in 2020. So COVID came around, and I was like, everything shut down that first year, and then also I decided to work on my master's in 2020. And so I just finished in May with my master's. So it's like, now that I'm done with all that, COVID's kind of dying down. My goal is to work on my next stage play. I got another web series that I want to work on. I'm just doing a lot of writing, doing the podcast and stuff.
I love it. I love it because they love to say that we don't be doing nothing. So I'll be like, here, what about this one? He doing this and he doing this and he doing this. So how you like us now?
Here's the thing I'll say also, because you talked about like Black people are looked at as being lazy. I think we also need to give ourselves a little grace because with me, like while I was in school and I was working and trying to do other stuff, I was telling myself I wasn't doing enough. And I had to take that step back and say, like, bruh, you're in school right now. You're having to drive 45 minutes twice a week to sit in the class for 3 hours. Like then you're spending 5 hours throughout the week working on homework and doing that. But my mind was set on, I want to do this next show. I need to be writing. I need to be doing my podcast. I need to be doing the discussion videos. I need to be doing all that. But right now, like I'm more focused on just this one thing. But it's like that one thing is more than enough. Like you're still doing a lot with that one thing. And so I had one of my friends that I'm real close with. She texted me maybe a week ago, and it was like a post about celebrating your small wins or celebrating your wins. And she was like, you need to do better with that. And I was like, I feel like I am. She was like, but you still need to do even better. Because I'm the type, I'm like, even when I got done with my master's, I was like, I'm done with my master's. Okay, let me do my life coaching certification. I got to do this one certification. I got to do this certification. After that's done, I got to work on my BCBA certification. After that's done, I got to make sure the coaching business is up. And I'm like, when am I going to take time to just appreciate all that I've done? So I think as Black people, being proud of the work that we've done and saying that, it's enough. Yes, I want to do more, but what I've done is enough, and I should be proud of what I've done.
Finding that balance, that's really, and like I was saying, earlier, there's some things that have been passed down to us generationally as Black folks that we really haven't, we still need to work on. And, some of that, work, you got to be better than, you got to keep on, we're still harboring some of that. And that's why, you see a lot of us with high blood pressure and all of that stuff. We just really haven't learned how to, it's okay. We've done enough. It's okay. So, but it's a process, we're getting there. We're getting there. So I want to ask my random question now. Okay. And then I'm going to ask you to tell how we connect with you and all of that stuff, because as usual, I always say I'm only going to take up 30 minutes and I end up taking up more of you guys' time. So I always apologize, but I enjoy. So let me ask you my random question. My Saints are my favorite team.
Really?
Yes, indeed. My dad is a Panther fan, so we have issues, but the Saints are. All right, let's see what we got.
All right.
What superpower would you want to have?
Oh, superpower I want to have. Maybe flight.
You want to fly?
Yeah, because I like water. Like water is peaceful to me. But it's just something about like when I see an airplane in the sky either taking off or landing, and I'm like, it just seems so. I think it'll just be nice to just be able to just soar over the world and travel and just be above and just watching things and stuff like that. Like I feel like birds are peaceful in the sky. Like I have one of my tattoos. It's the eagle. It's the Isaiah something. We must walk before running. And, awesome. Or whatever the whole Bible verse, but that's something that I, always loved.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, in that way, as cancers, we are alike, because I was just having this conversation with my mother the other day. Like my favorite place is the boarding area of an airport, because I feel like I know I'm getting ready to go somewhere. So, in that area, we are the same. So, sir, how do we connect with you? And check the podcast out, and how do we stay in touch so we can catch the next play and all this stuff? Give me the lowdown on how we connect with you.
Yeah, so my social media, I have Facebook, Instagram. Facebook and Instagram is Bobby Jarel. I have TikTok, which is also Bobby Jarel. My YouTube page is The Bobby Jarel, THE Bobby Jarel. All of my information is on there. So like you can watch the stage play on YouTube. The web series is on YouTube. And I post a lot of information. Like, so when I, get to promoting the next play and the next web series and next stuff that I'm doing, I'll always put it on like either TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of those things. So like everything, I try to keep it as connected as possible.
Gotcha.
But that's everything. The A Little Too Honest podcast is on Apple and Spotify, or BuzzFeed, not BuzzFeed, Buzzsprout. There's like so many different ones, but the main ones is Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and it's also under just Bobby Jarel. So yeah.
So your coaching services, is that handled in person, or can people just connect with you online as well?
Yes, so that people can connect online also. So like if you can reach out through social media, or you can send an email at jbrownbcaba@gmail.com if you're interested in the coaching. And like I said, with the coaching, the way it works, a little small rundown about it, is we talk about what your personal goals are and how you approach your goals, and what it is that in the past that you struggle with when working towards your goals. It can be any type of goal. If it's weight loss, being more social, trying to reduce anxiety, dealing with how you're dealing with your depression and things like that. It's any of those type of things that we can work on, and we're just using ABA principles to teach you different ways of approaching your goals. And one of the things, before I go, I want to mention, I had a back and forth discussion with two therapists. One is a doctor, so I think she's like a counselor or something. And they was like, coaching is BS. People shouldn't go to a life coach. That's a waste of time and a waste of money. And these were two Black professionals that I was having this with. And I think the thing that hurt me the most is that here, as someone, I have my degrees and this is what I'm working on, and I'm trying to help our people. I'm trying to provide a service to help individuals. And we have these people that are looking at it like, oh, what you're doing is not right. So I have one of my cousins, she's a therapist. So when I talk to my clients as a life coach, it's not therapy, it's not counseling, it's life coaching. One of the main questions I ask, have you been to therapy before?
Okay.
What are your thoughts on therapy? There's some people that don't want to go to therapy. There's some people that feel that therapy isn't for them. There's some people that have done therapy, but they don't feel, okay, I don't need therapy. Yeah. I just need someone that can kind of guide me a little bit through my situation and give me tools. And that's what life coaching is for. And so as professionals, I feel like we should work together and not against each other. So if I have a client and I'm doing my sessions and something comes up and I was like, you know what, that's more suited for you to go to therapy. Let me reach out to someone that I have, because I have resources of therapists that I can say, you know what, I'm going to refer you to a therapist so you can deal with that. And then once you've dealt with that, then we can come back and we can continue working on these goals and coaching. And I feel as Black people, that's what we need to be doing. And the way that this particular person approached the situation, I was just like, lost a little bit of respect there. I was like, I can
understand. Because, it's kind of more so about restructuring or rebuilding the village. And, especially when it comes to mental health, everything is not a good fit. So, you might need a therapist, you might need a life coach. Sometimes you might just need to sit in your grandma's kitchen with a slice of pound cake while grandma, dishes out her wisdom to you. So wherever, what I'm saying? Right, wherever you get it, you get it as long as you get it, and we should all be kind of networking together. So it's kind of sad that they, like you were saying, it's sad that they had that.
I know we're going to live it over time, but before we go, like that's what you read my little quote, trust yourself. So I was having a conversation with my aunt and my sister about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the stage plays and stuff like that. Because every time I talked to her, she was like, "When is the next play? Like, when are you going to do the next show?" And I'm, giving my reasonings, but sometimes excuses. And so she was like, the show was great. She was like, you got the talent, you got the skills. She was like, you need to trust yourself to believe that it's going to work out. And I was like, okay. Because in my mind, a lot of times I'm just like, I not necessarily want to be perfect, but I'm looking at, a certain standard for myself. And I was like, I want to make sure that I meet that standard.
That bar.
I'm raising the bar as I'm achieving a certain thing. I'm like, stop raising the bar. Like,
the goal line keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. I'm never gonna get there.
Yeah.
That's self-sabotage,
Yes,
and we have to really unpack that. But anyways, dear, before we go, I just want to let you know, I know I'm a total stranger to you, but I just want to let you know that I'm so proud of you. I appreciate the work that you're doing in this world, what you're giving to the world. You're following your passions, you're following your purpose. I just love everything that you're doing, and please continue to put that goodness out into this world. So just thank you from little old me, okay?
Now, thank you so much, and I appreciate you for having me on here. And one of the things I always tell people is, like, if I have the time, the means, the effort to help somebody in any type of way possible, that's what I'm gonna do. So like when you reached out, I was like, I don't know where you are on your journey and I don't know what your goal is, but if just me being able to just be on one show to help you get to that next level is like, let me be here to be a part of the journey. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear. Well, that's all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Oh.